in a C++ program, sometimes we will need to select the execution between two statements or two groups of statements based on certain condition. When the condition met, execute one statement and skip the other. When the condition failed, and execute the other way around. Let's take a look at an example. Here is an example. Suppose we want to write a program that provides some feedback based on the following simple decision tree. And in this decision tree, we have two groups of statements. One is skip chapter 1 and do assignment 2. And the other group of statements are study chapter 1 and then do assignment 2. Okay, so we don't want to execute those two groups of statements in our program. We only going to execute either one of them based on the condition. Okay, and here the condition is the answer of a simple question. We will ask user a simple question. Have you studied C++ before? If the answer is yes, then we're going to execute this group of statements. We're going to tell the user, skip chapter 1 and do assignment 2. If the answer is no, then we're going to execute the other group of statements and tell the user, study chapter 1 and then do assignment 2. And after either one of them is executed, then we move on to the next statements in our program, which is begin chapter 2. Okay, so we want to write a program that executes this kind of flowchart. And for this particular problem, if-else statement is a perfect solution. So let's take a look at the if-else statement. If-else statement is different to if statement. And an if statement is basically for a single group of statements. We either execute all the statements or we skip all of them as a group. That's the case we will use if statement. But an if-else statement normally is related to two groups of statements, and we only want to execute either one of them. So this is what the if-else statement structure was designed. We will have an if, the keyword if, then we put the relational statement as a condition inside of this parentheses. Then we have one group of statements inside of if. So we call those statements as body of if. Then we have another group of statements that follows the keyword else inside the brackets. And those statements we call the body of else. So in our program, we will not execute both of them. We're going to execute either one of them based on the value of this relational statement. So the computer will first evaluate the value of this relational statement. If it is true, then we're going to execute the first group of statements, which is the body of if, then skip the second group of statements, which is the body of else. Otherwise, if this relational statement is false, then we're going to skip all the statements in the body of if, then execute all the statements in the body of else, which are those statements. Okay, that's the structure of if-else statement, and that is the logic of this selection statement. Now let's take a look how to use if-else statement in a simple C++ program. And we're going to use the question that we mentioned earlier. We're going to write a program that perform a simple decision tree. Okay, we're going to ask user a question, then based on the answer of the question user provided, then we're going to execute either one of two group of statements. Okay, so we're going to demonstrate the use of if-else statement. We first declare a character variable, and we're going to use this variable to receive the user input. Okay, then we display this question and give the instruction to the user on how to answer this question. Okay, then we use this scene statement to receive the user input and place into the variable a. So the variable a is going to hold the character either y or n, depends on the answer of the question. Now, we're going to use an if-else statement to selectively execute either one of those two group of statements. And we use a equals y as our relational statement. If this is true, that means the answer is yes. Then we're going to tell the user to skip chapter 1 and directly do the homework 2. If this is false, then we're going to skip those statements and jump to the statements under the else. Then tell the user to study chapter 1 and then do the homework 2. So we're going to place two group of statements into the body of if and the body of else. Then the computer will selectively execute either one of them based on the value of this relational statement. Then after that, we're going to move on to the next statement that follows if-else statement. So this is the program. Okay, we place those two statements into the body of if. Then we place those two statements into the body of else. And based on the value of this relational statement, the computer is going to either execute those statements and skip the one that under the else, or the other way around. Skip the statements under the if and execute the statement under the else. It all depends on the value of this relational statement. And this relational statement is based on the value of a. Okay, if the value of a is y, then this is true. Otherwise, this is false. Okay, so you can see this is how we use if-else statement to handle this kind of programming task. Here is another example of using if-else statement in a C++ program. We ask user to enter a test score, then use the cin statement to put the score that the user entered into this variable. Then we set up this relational statement, and based on the truth and the false of this relational statement, which is also depends on the value that the user entered, then we either execute the first group of the statements and skip the second group, or the other way around. You may try to write a full program that contains those section of statements and execute and get some feelings about if-else statement. Okay, so that's for this video lecture. Thank you for watching.